A lot of us haven't been able to envision ourselves arguing a case in court in our home office on a screen.
Failing to appear in court can have serious repercussions, but what happens during a pandemic when you physically can't go?
I know Zoom is being used in Alberta as well as WebEx. The focus of the courts across the country is how do we continue to ensure access to justice, and how do we avoid a massive backlog?
By now, most of us are pretty familiar with this setup, and it's really no different for judges, litigators, or their clients. You just simply log in, and then proceedings begin, with some amendments, of course.
Court proceedings are, by their very nature, they're public. So having a court proceeding over Zoom is not as much of a concern as myself being in a room with my client, a virtual room with my client, having privileged discussions and who may access those, or what security features does the platform have. A lot of the platforms allow for virtual breakout rooms where you can go and have privileged discussions with your clients. And so, we're dealing with how do we handle that? Do we use other mechanisms to to ensure privileged communications, those sorts of things.
You ready?
I'm ready.
You think he's ready?
We used to think of this as must-see TV, but now virtual courtrooms are an essential way to ensure that justice is served, and in many cases preserve the principle of open courts.
We've had our first divisional court hearing out of Toronto at our firm was on YouTube. And so that was followed publicly.
So what does it mean for buildings like these? Well, if you're waiting for a jury summons, I wouldn't hold my breath. Jury trials have been canceled. But even with these doors shuttered, most trials are still going ahead.
I think it creates a lot of efficiencies with the system. It saves money for our clients. It creates a greater access to justice. A lot of small proceedings can be handled quickly, virtually, without people having to travel. It's really an interesting time because the courts, although I think they've always dreamed of being paperless and being able to do things remotely, usually these things require a pilot project. But with COVID, we've just all been sort of thrown in, and now we're doing it every day.
In Calgary, Allie Miller, City News.